Hello everyone, Empire Baron here. Thank you for joining me. I was so excited to see finally some players are starting to fill the game back up again a little bit. I saw the servers were around 500 or so, and I know that's still not a lot, but a little bit of progress is a little bit of progress, and there's been a bunch of big announcements as of late, and I'll get to that in a little bit after I introduce the players. But as you can see, this is TheMistaa. So along with a lot of these players coming back, TheMistaa has decided, I actually think he said that he had a little bit of a sore throat, so he was taking a little bit of a break from StarCraft, not wanting to risk getting any losses. So he came and he's been streaming, and there's a bunch of people, about 20 people watching the stream the other day, and he will be facing off against the TheRTSKing. So I apologize, it's a little bit blurry. This is from the stream of TheMistaa, and I don't know if his internet isn't great or if he doesn't have an amazing computer or what, but he has to turn down the graphics a little bit on this game, and especially for streaming. So we'll still be able to get to see the strategy he uses, and it'll be exciting to see from the perspective of such a strong RTS player. He will be in the Greek civilization, as you can see, and the TheRTSKing will also be in the Greek civilization. This is on Arabia, so you see there is goats there. Sometimes Arabia does not spawn goats, but this map in particular has goats that allows for that herdable resource. If you choose, you can maybe not go those berry picker upgrades in your storehouse and save the wood for other things and instead use those goats, and they will be just as fast as getting berries. So as I said, there's been some news in the game as of late. One of the biggest announcements was the new prices for games. So hopefully, that is a sign for that they're really going to start paying attention to this game and getting it out to the masses, hopefully. And, there's been some rumors of Steam and such, because I hear Age of Empires 3 has something like 4,000 players because they released it discounted on Steam. And I picked it up, and it is quite a bit of fun. Hopefully that's their goal for this game, because now I'm back into this game, and and this is their new baby. So hopefully, we'll start to get a competitive scene once they get this game balanced out, get some more civilizations out there, and get the things that we need really in this game, observer mode. Anyways, so the new prices are the civilizations will be half price of normal, and these are permanent prices now, so these will not change. These aren't just specials. So down to $9.99. Then their bundles will be $9.99. The booster packs, when they come out, $4.99. And then the vanity packs, they decided not to change. I guess if you are smart enough to buy a vanity pack, then you're still going to be able to pay the $5. So other than that, also the season pass holders, people who put that $100 down, you will not be disappointed, because they are extending it all the way out to August 15th, 2013. So you will, even with the price drops and stuff, you're hopefully going to get quite a bit of content well beyond Celts, which hopefully that doesn't give them the reason to delay the Celts any more than March. But I guess that's still to come, and we'll see if the quote-unquote soon that they start saying that again. But another thing they finally confirmed was that the DC has been fixed. So anybody out there who turned off your friend notifications, well, turn them back on if you like, because you can do that now. So a little bit about this game. We see a very early barracks go down now for TheMistaa, as he's getting a couple spearmen out now to defend the base. And it looks as though maybe those couple spearmen are going to try to stop any kind of scouting, because it looks as though he may be trying to go to a fast silver. Usually players will go for a 2 military building push at this stage, instead of just going straight villagers. That scout is going to get a view of that of that barracks, Let's see how they respond. And you see the wood line there is as close as you can get. He rotates the map around, as an archery range is going to get dropped down, but he rotates the screen around so he can get that storehouse as close to that wood line as possible. The positioning of these storehouses and the travel time that the villagers have is very key in these high-level games, when these games all come down to a matter of a couple resources more in your military. If your military has a couple more resources than your enemies, you have a huge advantage. We see that Scout for TheRTSKing is really trying to punch through here and find out what is going going on in the base of the TheMistaa, because it is a strange strategy to see, no less, on this Arabian map is just this one stables. Now there's that, as I said, the archery range just about done. But he's got a bunch of goats. He still keeps a couple villagers on the berries there. I think he sets his rally point to berries, because it's not as easy to set it to goats. You set it on a goat, they finish the goat, and then, the villager might just stand around there. So he is now going to scout the base out. We see 2 stables and a barracks for the TheRTSKing. So the TheRTSKing has considerably amount more military buildings, and that's going to push the TheMistaa to drop another archery range. So the TheMistaa is hoping that these spearmen he's putting down are going to help with the stables units. They're mainly series that will be coming out now for the TheRTSKing, as now we're seeing that 3rd age upgrade start. So as I said, it is that fast silver. He's going to have 2 archery ranges, so we'll see some Toxotes come out now to help those spearmen out. But we know that TheRTSKing has been putting on some sort of military build for quite a while now, because those 3 military buildings were already built, if not more than that. So it'll be interesting to see if the TheMistaa is able to hold this off. If you can see the score, it is dropping considerably for the TheMistaa. So let us see now if he is going to be able to get these age 3 units out quick enough so that he can fight off this inevitable push from TheRTSKing. And hopefully TheRTSKing puts on some kind of push, because if he doesn't, and the TheMistaa has time to get these units out, TheRTSKing will be substantially behind in this battle. There is the age upgrade. So now we're going to see mass hoplites and peltas come out of these buildings as fast as he can to try to get ready to stop this push. You see he sent that Toxote to the west a little bit, and that is going to just give him a little bit of more advanced notice on how soon this attack's coming. There's 3 series coming in, no doubt, to try to draw the enemy up, as the rest of the force is going to come into the south. Let's see how this takes place. The TheMistaa is badly outnumbered at the moment. These series are heaving those spears at those peltas. 1 peltist just about goes down. There goes down the first casualty of this battle right here, as these units are shifting in and out for the TheMistaa, but not too much microing going on by these series, who are just kind of getting slaughtered by these spearmen who are able to just push up. Usually you would see a little bit more micro, and man, that one Seri just runs all the way through the battle, wasting so much time. And now this attack is going to be easily halted by the TheRTSKing, who now is going to have to try to age up himself. He pushed in some Series past the initial battle to do some damage here to these villagers, but those 3 series are going to get taken down, it seems, pretty easily, and maybe only 1 or 2 villagers went down. The way I'm seeing this attack, it does not look very successful at all for the TheRTSKing, is I think he only killed a couple villagers, max, maybe 3, and he lost quite a bit of resources there in with all of those series, his entire force. And now the TheMistaa has a decent little force, 7 guys there, and he's going to have plenty of time now to reinforce this 3rd age civilization at that point. So it'll be interesting to see if TheRTSKing is going to be able to get what it takes. If you see the score is still dropping a little bit for the TheMistaa, as TheRTSKing no doubt is back home massing out units right now. He had lots of stable units, so we will see probably more series come out on the field, which are a good counter to these peltas, I believe. I believe that's a good counter to these peltas. That's actually something I've kind of been wondering. I don't play too much Greek civilization, so out there, people, let me know. Peltas, when you see so strong of peltas like this, so many peltas coming out, what do? Do you keep going with series? I feel like you should maybe try to micro these series a little bit more. I'm not exactly sure. Talk about it. Put that in the comments. So a little bit more news as of late. There was a couple updates since the last video, and one quote that I have to go into that Batsy wrote. And speaking of Batsy, first of all, she is no longer on the Age of Empires team, as we see a couple series come into the north and try to stop these houses from being created, just harassing a little bit, but it's not going to do much damage. So Batsy is done. I heard rumors she went to Terra Online. Not 100% sure on that one. It wasn't anything official on that, but if that's the case, good luck for her. I'm really excited about that game to come out. Terra Online seems like it's going to be a really interesting take on an MMO, so good luck to her. And, it'll be interesting to see who replaces her as of now. But on to the quote that she said. It said, based on player feedback, we will be changing Age of Empires Online quite a bit. and she was speaking in reference to the matchmaking, which is going to be changing real soon. There's going to be finally teams are going to be able to pick your team. Like I can, join as there's a little bit of engagement here, but I can join with another player and we can play 2v2 ranked match together. But onto this battle, there are those series in the middle trying to be hero tanks, but they are going to get completely surrounded and they are going to be taken off the map. And now there's quite a bit of Toxotes, which are very weak to these Peltis. So really the problem we have here is these Peltis are so strong against those archers units now that now I don't see TheRTSKing. He is going to really try to run away doing a little bit of damage, but it seems he's going to pretty much be sacrificing this attack now. But as I was saying, you can finally play 2v2, and that means even free players, if they're joined by a premium player, can play 2v2 and get their name in the ranked leaderboard. So that's some exciting news. That's finally kind of long overdue. They're also changing the UI a little bit for matchmaking, which kind of, in my opinion, it's a little bit of a waste of a time. I mean, it already tells you the players that are in there. That's not a problem with, finding how many players they're using green dot, red dot. I mean, that doesn't seem like a problem to me quite as much because there's not really many players for 2v2. If you don't have it set up in the chat, you're not just going to find it at a random time. So anyways, also there will be a new party find party feature that will be in your main UI. So you just click on that, and as you transfer even between cities and the like, you will still be able to be searching for a party. Right now, it's real broad what kind of party you will find. You could find someone who wants to quest. You could find someone who wants to play PvP. You could find someone who wants to do skirmish mode. But, they said also that they're going to try, if this works out, to adapt it into find a PvP party, find a questing party. And, that's kind of cool because it helps, people get together and push the online part. Hopefully we'll start to see maybe some sort of lobby with it. If I would love to see, before these games start in a 2v2 game, make there a chat room in that UI. Show me the red dot, green dot, and have a chat room. Like in Age of Empires 1, back in the day, I used to love sitting in those chat rooms, and you just have random people come in, you have a quick conversation with them. If you don't like them, you boot them out. If you like them, they stick around, and then you become friends. Compared to now, you just have gold spammers sitting in the general chat, and you have to beg for attention in there. But, other than that, there's some really exciting things hopefully to come, as I spoke before, Celts and the like. So, keep posted because that will be, in my future videos, surely. And I also will, once they release these patches, the next patch, we will go through that. They haven't released one in quite some time. But we see now that Stone being finished here as another town center is going to go up. We have a couple farms going down. I think TheMistaa is a little bit worried about raiding. There's lots of Series on the field, so he doesn't really want to do much hunting. You can get to those farms and you can really focus on not losing resources in the field. Right now, he's in a pretty stable position. He has quite a bit of troops there. He's setting up this expansion, and he has a little force protecting that expansion. That's a really good concept because you don't want one of these raiding parties who are just kind of scouting around the map looking to harass things, being able to do damage to your town center, which you just invested lots of resources, let alone the villagers who are over there working on it. So you see now he's kind of split his forces up there to protect his main base, and he's realized that the TheRTSKing is kind of settling in for a macro-intensive battle. He did a couple little attacks. TheMistaa, because he tried for that fast silver, he didn't quite get what he wanted out of it. In that situation, you hope that the enemy will hold off on that attack a little bit longer, and TheMistaa lost a little bit too many units during that first initial push. But if TheRTSKing didn't push right then and there, and he chose to wait a little bit longer, TheMistaa really would have been able to hold off the attack and then have phase 3 units and be able to push on. But since TheRTSKing pushed on there, now TheMistaa's been forced to turtle a little bit and kind of rebuild. And now, since he took that little bit of a risk in the early game, he can really finish a game quick. But this flip side, if it doesn't work out, you're in for a long macro-intensive game. We see that third town center is almost up, and here we go, another engagement. Still lots of Age 2 units. I see lots of Hypas there, as well as still tons of Toxotes were thrown into there, and these series are really not sure what they want to do for the TheRTSKing, and he's losing so many resources just being unsure of how he's doing this. And now he has almost only Toxotes who are kind of microing away here, trying to do any damage they can. They choose to go north. Oh no, they choose to go north. And the TheMistaa is going to try to block them off with these 2 archery ranges, making it so that these Toxotes will maybe all lose their life. Do you see that Ceres spotted it? And now these villagers are going to run away, and he's going to cancel these archery ranges being built. But a couple of farms going down as he's taking the time where he's in that screen to lay a couple of things down on his economy. And now he's back to his main, and he's just fixing his economy, sending troops back to his main, making sure that he's not going to get attacked there and lose any resources in his economy as he's pushing off and holding his expansion at the same time. So now he's kind of splitting his forces in 2 again, and he's just content to hold off these little pushes by TheRTSKing. Really, he doesn't take too much damage. TheRTSKing loses quite a bit of resources and now is forced to push back. And now the TheMistaa is going to start putting some pressure on here. So this will be very interesting to see if TheRTSKing is going to have what it takes back at home after that failed botched attack to hold this off. And TheRTSKing was already moving back up the field, and there was quite an engagement going on there, but it looks like the TheMistaa has quite a bit more troops than TheRTSKing, and now he's going back home and laying down the force again as we see these Peltis were sweeping in from both sides and have now centered on the front northern part of the base of TheRTSKing, where he was trying to put a forward barracks and a little settlement out to the north. You know, I don't quite agree with this position, putting a house that far out, because now you just lose a house and you lose some wood. If you keep your houses tucked away in the back in a safer location, even here where the TheMistaa is putting them behind his settlement, you know, but here there's no town center protecting any of that. It's so easy to be wiped out. Even the barracks there's not too much of a point in putting that barracks there. You know, I know the units will have a little bit shorter distance to walk, and that's nice if, you know, you put the town centers up, you know, and then you defend it, maybe a little bit more to the east, so that the TheMistaa wasn't able to so easily sweep through. Now the TheMistaa's new expansion is running smoothly as we see the score has completely switched sides. I want to point one thing out that you may not be able to see. The villager count for the TheMistaa currently is 77. So I'm going to say that one more time just so everybody knows. 77 villagers the TheMistaa has. You know, and that is just a key, just a testament to how much the economy is important in this game. I mean, he still has 22 population left and room left until he's at max population, and he just is so maxing out that economy. That allows you to build lots of military buildings, and maybe you won't be able to have as much population spent in the military. You can reinforce your units so quickly. As we see, the TheMistaa also looked like he tried to do a little bit of a raid on the western side of, you know, of the base of TheRTSKing, who is trying to do a little bit of mining far away from his base. That's good if you can find hunting parties or gold miners or whatever undefended by villagers. And we see, it was actually, the TheMistaa's gold mine getting attacked there in the middle of the map. TheRTSKing was doing that strategy. But if you can do that, you can force them to lose a bunch of villagers, and at the same time, they have to transition into some sort of thing. As you saw, the TheMistaa went to a market. So he put that market up in the back of his new settlement, and he moved. Now he's going to start getting caravans going back and forth to that far town center. So we see he still has 78 villagers. He lost a couple villagers there, but now he has 4 town centers, so he's able to create 4 villagers at a time. We see these series are making their way, though, into the expansion, and one hero, Padromos, is going to try to come in and save the day, as the TheMistaa is content to hold this position in the front of the base of TheRTSKing. He wants to keep map control, force TheRTSKing to that slower caravan gold instead of being able to come out and get that gold mines, and it also prevents him from really expanding too far anywhere, and the TheMistaa just can send raiding parties, as he's doing now, to that far gold mine, and he just can sweep all the way around and do damage to the economy of TheRTSKing and slowly but surely weaken him away. But we see such a large force by TheRTSKing, who is just really being able to, and I believe that is a fortress trying to go down, or maybe a town center, not 100% sure, but probably a town center right next to that gold mine. But now the TheRTSKing is going to be able to push at least this away far enough so he can get that town center up as he's fighting for that last gold mine, knowing that he needs that gold there because that market is not a very fast gold resource at this time. Plus, you don't want to spend that much resources on the caravans and the like, and maybe upgrading them a little bit to make them more proficient. But at the same time, he can bring his military up and try to gain back this further part of his base. You see those stables were put up by TheMistaa right next to that town center. So this is going to be a pretty interesting battle. Now we see these Prodromos come in, and those Prodromos are going to be able to do quite a bit of damage to the series here of the TheRTSKing, which he still isn't showing any age 3 units that I'm aware of. Maybe there is some Peltas thrown in there now for TheRTSKing, but still majority of age 2 units. So that's probably the last we will see of age 2 units, as TheMistaa is now pulling back from this attack and is going to send his troops to the north a little bit and set that rally point a little bit higher up in the map to a safer position. He still has these stables created on the northwestern side of the base of TheRTSKing, so that'll be interesting to see if TheRTSKing, how long it takes him to push in and destroy these buildings. And now we are up to 88, I believe, villagers there, and I mean, that is just insane. Almost half his population now is villagers, and it's just, as I said, a testament to how key it is to making sure that you just put the resources it takes into constantly making villagers, because it gives you so many opportunities to just create. And he can lose so many forces, but because he creates so many military buildings, he's able to keep them coming back, and he refreshes his troops quick enough where even if he loses a battle, before you know it, he has plenty of troops. Even these buildings now that are getting attacked by the enemy are still producing units for a little while, and he has so many villagers that wood is pretty much meaningless to him at this time, even though he is still running out of wood. I mean, don't get me wrong, he has a substantial amount of gold. I think he has something like 48 villagers on wood right now, so he gets so much wood. I think he also is selling wood in the market. And here's a major engagement here as he's trying to kind of defend these buildings a little bit, because he has built quite a amount of military buildings on this middle part of the map, trying to take map control. And he is also now building on the eastern side of the base of the TheRTSKing a little bit of a siege workshop going on. So that is a good strategy. He can keep TheRTSKing's attention distracted on the northwestern part of his base, and then at the same time sneak around the backside, spend a little bit of wood, maybe a couple battering rams come out, and then some defensive units to help them out. And if you can punch through and do some damage, maybe go after a town center or something like that, that's something we've been hearing a lot lately, usually in the early game, where you go and you attack them and you snipe their town center, you surround their town center, and if they're not prepared for it yet, they won't have the stone and they run out of time. You only get 2 minutes. But in this kind of game, you can just sneak around with those siege workshops and do substantial damage, and the cost really isn't that bad. And if you attack with the main side of your force on the opposite side of the map, they have to split their forces up, and you cost you a little bit of resources, but it can win you the battle on the western side. So that's an interesting strategy. Let's see how it plays out here for him, as he's about halfway now to upgrading to that 4th age. So very interesting. We're going to see a 4th age battle. I haven't seen one. I am getting excited. So I am so excited to see how this turns out. TheMistaa has shown such strong play, but TheRTSKing has had an answer for everything and has actually been on the front side of most of these battles, as now TheMistaa's settlement in the middle is starting to be threatened, as look at the force for TheRTSKing, who has now pushed him out. But see how many troops TheMistaa can make at one time. It is just incredible now to see. TheMistaa is going to really be jockeying these troops in and out, and he still is ballsy enough to keep mining gold with the enemy so close. And I'm sure you see he's keeping close attention to it. So once the enemy starts to move in and see that gold mine, there they go. The villagers are able to run off. There is what I was talking about with that battering ram. And now even he's maybe going to get some ballistas out now that he's in the 4th age, and he can from a long distance, kind of micro those ballistas away and keep them a little bit healthy. And he can do so much damage to buildings that it starts to chew up the wood of TheRTSKing, and at the same time, you can open up little gaps because we see them come in and we see there's a fortress in there for TheRTSKing who's really realized he needs to turtle down and start just getting his defenses to gain map control back. But TheRTSKing now seems to have that middle part of the map gained back. Here it is. He's gained that middle part of the map, and he's going to slowly but surely wipe away those military buildings. As we see now, some armories are down, and he is just creating peltis. Now I want everybody to look at the thing. If you can see the villagers up in the top corner, he has 111 villagers. So I don't know if anybody out there realized that is how many villagers you needed to use to keep this high level attack going. But I mean, this just goes to show everybody out there, keep building villagers. It doesn't seem like you can build enough villagers. He's saving enough room in his military for these foot troops to be able to, hold off these attacks. He takes map control. He retreats strategically. He still has enough of the map, so he's never at dire, in a dire situation. And he has so many villagers that resources just come so fast. Now we see these ballistas come down, and he's going to push on this forward town center a little bit with these villagers. With the siege, but at the same time, his northern base is getting attacked by Ceres, and there it is. He's going to be able to, looks like, take out that town center, but at the same time, this is what in chess we call a gambit, where he is going to give up that northern settlement at this point, it seems, just so that he can take now this maybe southern side of the map, and he's going to kind of transition into that southern side of the map, which is closer to the base of TheRTSKing. So TheRTSKing feels like he's gaining ground by attacking this northern base, and maybe feels like that's the way it is. But in this case, TheRTSKing needs to push through. Don't be tempted to take that whole thing out. He needs to maybe take out the town center so you can hurt the population and force TheMistaa to make another town center. But right now you see he's focusing down on military buildings, and he needs to be focusing down on, and you see there goes the market. So he's deleting that market so that those caravans don't go back to that market, and he can keep those caravans close into his home base. I'm sure he's going to build another market here down to the south, and that is going to be how he starts to get gold, because now TheRTSKing has put substantial amount of his military in that north settlement, and that means he doesn't have too much at home. And TheMistaa, because he is able to just pump out so many resources so fast, you see he has over 2,000 wood and 1,000 food, and he just is almost max population. He's over the max population he has because he just lost a town center there. So a very interesting battle here as we see TheMistaa is transitioning down to the south, and he is marching his troops to the north because he realizes his main home base is being threatened. All of those villagers, you see all of those villagers were kind of jockeying around. Villagers actually do decent damage if you can maybe narrow, if you have a bunch of villagers like that, you can maybe get a surround on some siege. But in this case, TheMistaa was just sacrificing that whole northern settlement just to buy himself enough time so that he can rebuild this force. Now you see Hippikins and Age 4 units being thrown into this mix, and let's see how this battle takes place as TheMistaa fights to defend his home base. And those Hippikins charge up, and they look like they took out maybe some siege. I'm not exactly sure if that siege is to the north yet. That's one of the feedbacks. Nope, the siege is still there. That's one of the drawbacks to having no observer mode, is I have to watch exactly what TheMistaa wants to watch. And now we see this base was found out by TheRTSKing that TheMistaa was trying to create in the middle, and those Hippikins are going to retreat from this battle so that they can go deal with that threat. At the same time, the whole force of TheRTSKing was sucked all the way into the back of the base, and now are killing quite a few villagers who are on those farms. But really at this point, TheMistaa is not worried too much about losing a couple villagers, because he still just has so many, and now he just rebuilt those two town centers, and we see that one town center is going to go down pretty quickly by those Hippikins. And now the whole force there of TheMistaa has now cleaned up this force. That whole northern settlement has been wiped off the map, but TheMistaa has transitioned to the south and now also to the middle, and he is just putting on a pincer movement with just massive amounts of military buildings and massive economy. Now another siege workshop and another market is going to go up. to the west there, I believe, and now we have an engagement now where all of the troops of TheRTSKing are trying to fight over this middle part of the map, where TheMistaa is now, I think, going to be forced to retreat these Hippikins, because the whole main bulk of his force was back at home defending against this attack. So TheRTSKing has quite a bit of military buildings back at home as well, because he created quite a force to put pressure on that middle part of the map so smoothly. And now we see those Hippikins are kind of coming in and out of battle, going against Prodromos. So that's a pretty even battle, as now this one ballista came forward, put a couple missiles in, and is now going to get destroyed there because it was on the front lines. And that's not exactly where you want your ballista to be. But now he's peppering a couple more stables on this northern part of the map, as he is going to start transitioning almost solely into Hippikins at this point, it appears. Because right now, that is a strong combination to go after in this late stage of the game. You go mass Hippikin and throw some Peltist in there, and then throw some Siege in the back. Or maybe not even Peltist. You just tank with Hippikin and launch ballistas in there. And I mean, and that's a really hard thing to conquer in this fourth part of the game, this fourth stage of the game. Now we're seeing this push come across the map. Just so many military buildings for TheMistaa as he spreads all the way across the middle part of the map. You see that market now is in the southern part of his map and in the northern part of his map. He is just spreading out so far just to make sure that even if TheRTSKing puts on lots of pressure and does damage to certain parts of his base, it's so hard to overcome the entire thing. And it always gives TheMistaa out, so he has a market in the north, market in the south. He gets the south when attacked. He just moves all his caravans to the north. And now we see that Siege is going to start, the Siege Workshop there. Another town center is going to go down to the north there, as his population was dropped all the way down to 160. But he's also lost some villagers in this engagement. He's down to, I believe that's about 73 villagers. But that's still plenty at this stage of the game to be able to get the economy that it takes, because now he is doing substantial damage. That Siege is just able to run in, and these Prodromos are trying to go in, and they're going to be able to take out this one ballista, it appears, but they are going to even lose a lot of Prodromos in that taking out that one ballista that did go down, but two more ballistas were to the left. That is the one good idea where you want to split up your siege, and so it allows them to be, you know, safer just by being spread out, because then they can push on certain parts of your line, but they won't be able to overcome and take out 4 or 5 pieces of siege equipment, which is really expensive in one shot. So, that siege is getting a little bit close to the front lines, but lots of pressure being put on here, as now more Prodromos are coming in than anything from those stables. And he still has a couple Hippikins. Really, those Hippikins are really good for punching through the line and attacking the siege in this fourth age. You can get mass ballista going on, and that Hippikin is a good counter to that. You know, but if you see a lot of enemy Prodromos in the field still, you kind of want to put Prodromos of your own on the field, because they're a little bit less expensive and they are better against cavalry units. But just such a great game we have going on here, as now TheMistaa is up to 188 population out of 200. He has 1,100 gold, you know, still decently low resources. His wood still constantly drops back down. It's still important, even in this late stage, to keep your resources low, because you want to be putting them into upgrades and into more military units so that you can put attacks on. Even if you lose units, you want to be able to put attacks on so that, you know, you can, and that's where you use those resources up, by putting pressure, reinforcing your troops. We see all those caravans were kind of stuck in the middle, and I think now he's sending them, I'm not exactly sure, but he's going to kind of mass out a couple more farms to the west. He's getting some more upgrades now going. So still we are at about the 23, or I believe 23, maybe that's 33-minute mark of the game. You know, a really long game going on here between these two players. And now that gold mine all the way to the west is being taken down for TheRTSKing. This spells trouble. That is going to be different. And that is it, folks. TheRTSKing has resigned. So thanks, everybody, for watching. I hope you enjoyed this cast. I hope you don't have a headache after watching TheMista's perspective. And please give us some sort of esports observer mode news. With that said, Empire Baron out.